So this is the voice of Tim from wargamer.com. We're really, really super happy to be hosting you in our Discord AMA with the Warmachine crew. We have got from, I'm assuming this is left to right, but maybe it's right to left. We'll know if I get it backwards. We've got Rich Loxam, who is one of the two kings of Steamforged Games. We have Sherwin, who's co-product owner for Warmachine. He's the lore master. We have Mat Hart, who is the other high king of the Warmachine Empire.
I know, it's pretty good, that.
And we've got Jamie Perkins, who is another co-owner and is the rules maestro, I think it's fair to say. So lovely to have you here, seeing lots of people coming through. And the way that these work, wargamer.com, we write about tabletop games. We could be interviewing people, but we'd much rather have all of you guys have your chance to ask your questions of the designers that we get to speak to. And people are already putting in lots of questions in the chat. I'm going to be putting those to the crew. And hopefully we can get through as many of them as possible. But oh my goodness, there is a lot already. So, all right, we're just going to go from the top. First question. The Menoth army that's coming out, is it formed from what remained of Fiora or more so following Tristan?
It's how much I can say, really. I think we'll see something from within a Moran. Is probably the easiest answer to that.
Yeah, well, I think it's the clean answer is it's not Tristan focused.
Oh, sure, it's absolutely not Tristan.
Okay, funky. Fain of Nero question: the hunger mechanic, how's that work?
So the hunger mechanic is a new economy that's unique to Fain of Nero. You collect or you generate hunger by performing specific activities or actions within the game. Those are largely dictated by a central set of rules, but also then specific rules to each of the leader models. And you generate a pool of hunger. You can then spend hunger to do really cool stuff.
Funky. All right, we've got a hardball question from Google. Was my idea too. So they say that there's been community sentiment that this year's keynote was lackluster or less impactful compared to last year's. And some people thought there should be more about Menoth, or some thought that some stuff was repeated. How are you going to respond to that?
Quite easily. There's been a number of keynotes. So that keynote last year was the first in a long time, or first ever that we did. And since then, we've had multiple expressions or contact points with the audience talking about things at Lock and Load US. So the time delta between keynotes means that a lot of the big surprises that happened last year are now a little bit more known as we get closer and closer with the community and our communications.
Cool. Deadneck asks, so regarding the new release style for Fain, what are the costs of the new 50-point boxes? How many are there? And what's the path for a player who's going from nothing to getting full force allowance? What does that look like?
I'll pass it over to Rich in a minute to talk a little bit about the pricing. I don't think that's completely set at the moment. However, the reason for the change is actually to address the second part of the question, which is any of the boxes now are a meaningful entry point into Fain of Nero. So it really, I mean, on the booth the last few days, the most common thing that we say to people when they come up and express an interest in Warmachine and ask where to start is pick a faction you like the look of and drive into that. And now with the Fain of Nero, with the box sets, it's very much a look at the leader model that appeals to you the most, look at the box contents that appeal to you the most. And when you pick up one of these boxes, they're a coherent force that's put together so you can immediately start playing in a 30, 50-point game and then add whatever other box you want. So it's much more modular now.
Cool.
Just for the price points, so essentially, like we confirmed the keynote, the command set will still be exactly the same as what you see now from command sets. The heavy and the light will be very similar to the pricing of the heavies and lights we have, but there's no battle grid box anymore, so they're two separate SKUs, but they will be in retail now, so there's a big change. Go closer. Yeah. And the boxes will be the equivalent to our core expansions. So I think we can say there's 3 boxes. We have them. Yeah. So Oh, I can't say it now. So yeah, a little surprise. So there is free army box essentially. Yeah, free 50-point boxes. So which is really cool. So I think people are really excited about that. For those as well, just as additional question, asking about additional arms and options, we will have a direct SKU for those as well, because the beasts that come in the boxes will have a loadout essentially. So we'll have all the arms.
So just in terms of the fixed loadouts for the war beasts, there's a couple of different other things to bear in mind there. One is that when we're developing these 50-point army boxes, we'll be trying to make sure that we set the arms and the heads, etc., for the abilities that work best with that particular army box. So if you're playing with an army box, for example, that is all about heavy armor, shields, etc., you're more likely to see a cohort set with, a melee weapon and a shield. It makes sense to go with that army box. In addition to that, we also need to mention that you'll still be able to get hold of the individual cohorts as well. So if you need to get hold of an individual heavy, that'll still have all the different heads and arms as it currently does. And we've noticed that a lot of the time, between having, say, 2 or 3 different army boxes and then maybe one of the extra cohort sets, you'll usually have enough arms and heads to make the various different cohorts you need to make different armies.
Fantastic. Okay, so
just one little bit. The digital subscription as well. We obviously do the alternate versions of heads and arms, so it's another way of getting those additional pieces as well, which we'll do for Fain as well.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting more bodies for putting some of those 3D printed bits on. So another question from Google was my idea too. They're coming in with the hardballs. So they're saying that there's been some feedback that not all of the changes from the January update were beloved. They think maybe there's been a bit of push towards some already strong factions. So could you walk us through the philosophy and data behind the adjustments you made and what you're doing for long-term balance across all factions?
Absolutely. I mean, the first thing to bear in mind is that at this point, we're balancing this at 38 different armies, and we're spreading our development bandwidth across those with a little bit more of an emphasis on the prime armies. We're very overall happy with the result of the January update, but at the end of the day, this is a living miniatures game that's always having additional releases to it all the way through the year, which means that the balance is never going to be exactly perfect, but also 2, nor should it. We're looking for a sort of, how do you describe it? An
imperfect balance.
Imperfect balance, yeah. And one of the things that we used to say about how to visualize balance is it can be sometimes as a misconception, as an infinitesimally small laser line that every model in the game needs to hit perfectly all the time. And that's not the correct sort of interpretation of balance. You should instead see it as an acceptable bandwidth that models will occupy different spaces on, depending on what situation they're put into at a given time. If a model is in its particularly strong situation, it'll be towards the upper end of that acceptable balance aura. And then perhaps in a different system, a different situation, it's in a weaker place, in which case it'll be further towards the bottom. So models will move depending on what situations you drop them into, and that's by intention.
Fantastic. So people asking that you're expanding manufacturing in China, is that right?
Yeah, so we've expanded our manufacturing across the world. So that includes the UK, it includes Europe, and we're also doing some brand new manufacturing in China as well. So one thing we've seen with the growth of Warmachine is just the sheer amount of supply we need to do across the world. And we've seen the improvement of that, and we'll continue to improve that. So China is part of that as well. What we do like to do, though, is try and keep local manufacture. So, for instance, in the US right now, we have a serious, US manufacturing. It helps lead times, it helps access, and just generally is easier for things to do.
Cool. And with stuff going into China, do you have any concerns about IP protection or maintaining product?
No, we
consistency?
we worked for 11 years in China, with various products, including high license products, and we've never had an issue. When me and Matt myself would go, we go out to China, we visit our manufacturers, we've got good relations with them, so we have a real trusted partnerships over there.
Cool. So there's been the Orgoth Reaper Covenant. Obviously, we've got that incredible plastic kit, but we haven't had anything else so far. What can players expect in the coming months in terms of releases or faction support?
For Reaper Covenant specifically?
Yeah.
So in the coming months, the timeline has been, the roadmap is set. We're not trying to release too many factions or armies at the same time. So Reaper Covenant is in the queue and is being worked on and being developed and polished, and then we'll go into the release queue as appropriate.
Cool. A question that I would like the answer to as well from Rinth. Old Umbre 80mm character will beast when/if?
Yes.
Okay, so for the Menoth, are we going to see any familiar faces returning? Someone's asking about Krios.
Yes to the first part, not going to confirm to the second part. Right, some of them saying, Randall, can some of you blame Jamie for the no public sound issue in the keynote so we can check the blame Jamie box in the bingo card? 100% confirmed, Jamie's fault.
Yeah, cool. Oh, so Deadneck's asking, we only saw pictures of 4 grunts at Adepticon. I'm not sure which.
That's the mercenaries.
Yeah.
Oh. The mercenaries. Yeah. Do the units work like WK/KG infantry, where they have 4 grunts and then have to choose between a built-in UA?
Yeah.
It's a funny story.
The funny story is my fault. One of the swords fell off in transit, so there is 5.
There is a full set of 5 grunts. Okay.
Are you going to tell the story?
Yeah.
So when it was glued back on, someone didn't glue it back on in the right way, and it was a little bit. So we took it out of the cabinet.
Oh, so someone's asking about the new Imperatus. Is it a whole new warjack that just has some similar abilities, or is it the original Myrmidon rebuilt?
From a narrative point of view, or from a rules point of view?
Yeah.
That determines which way you give the paintbrush. Yeah. So from a narrative point of view, it's the remnants of Imperatus that have been rebuilt, but very much from the Dusk perspective. So this isn't a Retribution warjack anymore. This is a Eternal Dusk warjack. This is the remnants, hence the Ashen Phoenix. This is a much more brutal. It's not the noble paragon you would have seen before. This is like a much more brutal, much more savage creature. Same cortex, so same personality within that. But yeah.
That is dope. You're making me want to get into Dusk, honestly. Question about how the Fain casters survive on the front line if they're bruisers.
Well, one of the ways you can use hunger is now I'll go into some specifics. So you can use hunger to replace a target model with another model within a proximity. So if you throw a charge into a model, you could spend hunger to switch places between that target model and another model.
Yeah, it's about.
Go.
Okay.
I'm just miming.
I got you.
Picture sells the selling words.
Yeah, so you can have situations. You can have situations on the battlefield where you can have a warlock that's nearly on the front lines, basically on one fury, and they'll be actually quite difficult to assassinate still because you get that first hit in and they're not there anymore.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, what we wanted to do was capture that feeling of having to kind of corner a vampire and pin them down. So really, it's about carving out the space around them so they are then trapped and you can then focus on them. So unless you do that, the vampire can be quite elusive and slippery and moving around and hiding amongst his army. So it's Fain of Nero is very much an army for timing windows. So when you have a lot of hunger, you are very powerful and you have a lot of options. And when you've spent that hunger, you are a little bit more vulnerable, a bit more weak, which I think reflects that vampire condition. And it gives you play and counterplay for both you and your opponent.
That's awesome. Question from Luke. And Luke likes them big. They want to know when we should expect Bandit and any reveals about Constance and Gallant.
So the rest of the super heavies will be coming out over the next few months. So you'll see the releases start to roll out, similar to how the last one's released. So yeah, this year they'll all pretty much be out. No, we didn't put the dates on the roadmap, but they will be. Like I said, the reveals of them are coming soon. The other part of the question was the
Constance and Gallant. They just want to know some more stuff about them.
Yeah, the best way to sort of summarize their playstyle is that obviously the Super Juniors, the true mercenaries have to bring one specific aspect that makes them different to the ones. Why would you take this specific true mercenary as opposed to Magnus Invictus or Carver and the Warboar? The specific element that Constance and Gallant are going to bring to the table is an increased amount of magic defense, anti-magic.
Cool. Randall Z would like to know some stuff about the Warstore program in Europe and being able to order breakouts from main boxes like 80 mil solos, apotheosis, custards, etc.
So we've been working really hard behind the scenes for the last quite a few months now on how we can actually roll that out. Europe obviously has different rules and regulations to when it comes to selling than the US does. So we're very close to getting that locked in. So once we can get that done, we'll be sharing that with all war stores, and hopefully then Europe can access, the stores can access the product just exactly the same as the US can. So yeah, we're very close.
Cool. Slayer Dragonwing, who has an excellent name. Well done, Slayer Dragonwing. How did the Frontier perform compared to your expectations, and how likely is it that we'll have something similar in the future?
Yeah, so the Frontier did incredibly well. So we're doing very, very well the last few days. So go and check it out. But yeah, it's done exactly what we hoped it would do. It's now the biggest Frontier that's ever existed on the platform. So when we look at targets and expectations, we couldn't be happier really. So yeah, thank you everyone for supporting it and bringing these three kind of factions back. And hopefully the reception has been really positive, and hopefully you enjoy the STLs. I mean, the cool thing about it is the fact that the minute the campaign ends, we can send them all out straight away to you, and you get playing. So, which is awesome. So, will there be more in the future? It's gone great. Never say never. So, there's obviously a lot of things in the game to do.
Yeah, I think just to layer onto that a little bit, I think in wargames, 3D printing is here to stay and a really important part of the whole process and the ecosystem. So we look to the future and embrace it. I don't think we're ever going to run away from it. So as long as 3D printing continues on the same trajectory, it's absolutely going to be part of our plan.
Cool. So you mentioned the Fain beasts being more hit and run than big Alpha Strike. How do they handle scenario if they've got lower immediate damage output and they're not staying close to the enemies?
You want to take it?
Yeah, sure.
So when Matt was talking earlier about the capacity for models to be hit and then spend hunger to move, that doesn't just apply to the Warlock. So that can also apply to other models in the army, which includes the War Beasts. So we really can't underscore that really gives them a different edge in terms of how inefficient it can be to attack a Fain army. They can actually stand quite close to you. And there are these heavy war beasts and warlocks. You're thinking, this is far closer than anybody would normally stand. I should be able to just hit this. But then you realize when you attack them and they start moving around that your attacks become quite inefficient. So you're still removing Fain models, but it's not always necessarily the models that you're going after in the first place because they're not going to end up where they started.
That's really cool. Do you want to carry on with that?
No, you're good.
Okay, cool. So Buck Saifu, who's lovely to see you, Buck Saifu, regular in the Discord, and they've never played Warmachine. What would they say? What would you say to get them into it?
Where do we start? So Warmachine is a world that's set in a world that's existed for 20 odd years now. It has a deep, rich history. It has a wide variety of factions. I'm biased, but I think the models look fantastic. The game itself is a rule set that has changed subtly, not dramatically, over the years. And the subtle changes have been more a sense of refinement. And we have a rule set now that it's stress tested and been played thousands and thousands of times, and feedback's been folded in. So you end up with a very clean rule set that exists in a very balanced environment, the imperfect balance that we talked about before. But it genuinely means that it is a game that you can play for fun and invest as much time into it as you want. And the more time you invest into it, the more reward the game will give back to you. So it's very much one of those games that kind of starts small, but then will grab you and hold onto you for a very long time. And we are pretty much expressions of that, having all been playing for 20 years.
Yeah, I can confirm I'm independent from these guys, but I've been playing since Mark II, and I was incredibly excited when they took it on. It's a hell of a game. It's a lifestyle. Yeah. I have a question here from Mac Tack. Will there be enough Menoth stock at Lock and Load to keep up with demand?
That is a tough question. I mean, that's the goal. So we're opening factories pretty much all the time. The wonderful thing that we have right now is our biggest problem is matching our supply with our demand, which is the best problem to have. And we have a dedicated team. Judy is wonderful, our production director, and she will be very much keeping her eye on that. We're expecting a huge amount of interest in Menoth, and we will turn up to Lock and Load with a huge amount of Menoth.
Excellent. After the Frontier program, is Ghost Fleet or similar the new project?
That was hinted at.
That was hinted
in
at.
the keynote.
There we go.
That's correct. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
It's not linked to the Frontier campaign. It's more the Thornfall tribe that's happening at the moment.
Well, that is cool as hell. Rinth wants to know, the new release format, is that going to get applied to older armies?
It's under discussion. Quite possibly. We're going to, certainly going forward, we are confident that this format is the correct format going forward. So expect Fain and then Menoth and subsequent armies after that to be in this format. Probably would look to repackage the older boxes, but then interestingly, or no, it's not interesting at all actually, but it just creates logistics problems. We have retail partners and distribution partners who have then stock that is out of date or very difficult to manage against the new SKUs that are being built. So there's a lot of nuance to that decision. So it will probably be a soft roll over time rather than a hard kind of reset and a repackage.
Cool. Piotr G wants to know, are Constance and Gallant true mercenaries who will work for everyone?
Well, I mean, yes, but there's a narrative reason why.
So Constance has been charged by the Morrowind leadership to go out across the land following the claiming and effectively just all these defiled holy sites, basically restore them to bring them back from the brink effectively. So that's why she's traveling the land and will work alongside multiple armies in order to achieve her goals.
Hold her nose for the greater good.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, I know the Discord is already very excited about me writing a story about Nicaine and Constance having sort of like a buddy movie. That seems kind of fun. I'm very tempted to write. I don't know how that would work. We could talk about that on the plane on the way home. That's kind of fun.
So Deadneck, this is a bummer question, Deadneck, but will Fain be missing anything that might affect people's desire to get into them, like how Gravediggers have no Colossal? They say, you know...
There's always a Gravedigger player.
I think they are. I think Fain are going to be missing a sense of humanity and a sense of being satiated and sated. So I think they have an eternal hunger and a desire for more. And that's Fain and Nero.
Cool.
Angsty vampires.
Andrew PWH wants to know, will Gravediggers be getting an Invader airship as a battle engine?
When Fain of Nero's bellies are full.
Excellent. I think this is going to be an easy one to answer. Are there plans to do MMF Frontiers for any additional armies of Legend factions? Oh, we've had that, haven't we?
Yeah, we've had that.
Yeah. We kind of covered that. I think because the game's been around so long and because the lore is so deep and rich, and there's a lot of actors or factions that have been talked about in the lore but not actually realized in the game, there's going to be that never-ending desire for more and more factions to come in. Our challenge is to make sure that the game ecosystem is also maintained, as well as exploring all of the rich history and background of Iron Kingdoms.
Awesome. Any insight or word about the RPG side of things?
So we're in discussions with a number of RPG designers that we particularly love in terms of the work and the quality that they do. We're going to be almost certainly 99.9% certain revisiting the OG 2D6 system. So we will be moving away from 5e and going back to its roots.
Cool. Oh, that's good. I like that RPG system. That's good.
Any award winning.
Deservedly so. So MacTac would like to know a bit about the army comp for Menoth, particularly, are we going to have the successors to the Exemplars or the Temple Flame Guard, anything like that?
So I think the wonderful helmet that we had from Galactic Armory is a really good indication that this is going to be TFG based or Temple Flame Guard based for a majority.
For a majority, cool. Zerk would like to know, is there going to be a faction related to the Tharn at any point?
Nicely done. Yes, but not this year.
Okay, cool. Piotr G would like to know, any chance of new casters for Sea Raiders or Dusk?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool.
And that will happen sooner rather than later.
Sooner rather than later. So that's going to get them up to their 6th caster. That's very cool. Cool. So Markistan would like some info about how the new Constance and Gallant might play. So we've heard that they are anti-magic tech. Is there anything more you can say?
Do you want to say any more?
Or do you want to keep?
I think we're going to keep our powder dry on that one. Yeah,
dry.
expect more in that as over the coming months.
With the upcoming release of Blaze, would you consider putting together a prime army for Morrowind, even if it's just for legacy models?
That is a conversation I've had several times. Yes.
Okay.
You've had the conversation. Yeah.
I had the conversation. I like the idea. So it's definitely on the yes side of the column rather than the no side of the column. But again, the delta is time always.
Okay. Samurai Fox wants to know, are you going to expand distribution channels so local game stores can get stuff through their preferred distributors? Or is it mostly going to be the stockist program for the majority of releases?
So our distribution network is constantly expanding. With that, obviously, that is the main retail lines that we do through distribution. But our advice always is to contact us directly, go through the War Store program, because that allows stores to get access to the direct lines, gives a direct connection to us and our team as well. So for the account handlers, it's just much an easier process and make sure that we can get the releases to you as well. So definitely the best way of getting it.
I mean, that being said, we also understand that there's, smaller footprint stores that don't necessarily want to maintain multiple direct accounts with publishers. We do have relationships with all the major distribution partners in North America and across Europe and Australasia. So if you are a store owner, do speak to your distribution partner first and see if they carry Warmachine. If they don't, give them a nudge and they can then reach out to our commercial team. But as Rich says, we personally feel that we can offer the best service with a direct relationship. We also recognise that isn't always practical for everyone.
Fantastic. Slayer Dragonwing says that from the Keynote pictures, it looks like the Fain War Beasts have got 2 different builds each. Is that correct? Or is that just...
We've only shown 2 different.
Yeah, we've only shown 2 different builds. They're approximately equivalent to other heavy war beasts, etc. in the game.
Cool. Okay, so yeah, that answers that question very neatly. Google was my idea too, who put a load of hardball questions to you early on, said, thanks for answering my questions. I still love the game, and I appreciate your transparency.
He still loves the game despite our answers, or because of our answers?
Despite asking you so many tough questions.
No,
really
that's fair. Tough questions we love.
Okay.
We don't always try and answer them, but...
Will wants to know, when can we expect to hear more about Gunbjorn or the Fortress King? And will Gunny be a separate box or in the auxiliary box? So there won't be an auxiliary. Well, there will. Will there be an auxiliary box?
There is an aux box for Kithgard. Gunny's going to be a separate box because he's a big boy, and I have a healthy vested interest in getting him released as quickly as possible. Largely because I want to play with him in public. So I think it's a couple of months away.
Been checked at the moment.
Yeah, we'll check it. I think it's 2 months.
Yeah, and we'll have heroes and villains for both of them about a month out from release of both of those models.
So when those are available, I will be using every bit of my press blagging skills to try and nab them.
And one of my jobs when I get it back is actually a painting video. 3 months. So next week I'm going to be recording a painting video that'll go up on the YouTube channel. Wet your whistle, get you excited for Gunny, and then 3 months time I'll be rampaging around in his tank, shooting people in the face.
Mike Chemick wants to know, a long time ago there was mention of the Kador Horse Lords. Are they still on the long distance roadmap, or did they fall off into a ravine?
We're literally, Jamie and I were chatting about them yesterday. So they definitely haven't fallen off the cliff and disappeared into a ravine. They go under the, quite frankly, boring and slightly elusive answer of sometime in the future, not this year.
Cool. Will Circular Attribution appear in any way in the foreseeable future?
Yes, same answer.
Okay, cool. We've already answered that, Anthony. Sorry, I'm going down in question. We have got so many questions here. I have just accidentally skidded forwards about 5 minutes in the chat. So I'm just getting back to find my place. I'm vamping to...
That song?
Sorry?
Yeah. You sing a song?
Oh no.
Oh, Jamie was good.
No,
The filler one we usually go for is asking. The filler one we usually go
Tell us
for
a
in
joke.
the Discord is asking about
funny now.
about people's recipes. Like, have you got a barbecue recipe or something?
Oh.
Well, go on.
Charcoal and meat.
All right. Yeah. Excellent. The Americans are going to be so disappointed. Oh, it's an interesting one. So, great question, Blake. Did any of the revealed mercenaries or planned mercenaries for future get influenced by the results of certain large narrative events?
Sorry, I was still thinking about barbecue. What was the question?
So this might be a Sherwin question. Did any of the revealed mercs or planned mercs in the future get influenced by the results of certain large narrative events?
No, not these ones, but that's not necessarily something that we won't be looking at going forward.
Rourke wants to know, can you give the Brine Blood fans extra details about Old Scuttlebutt?
Go on, you go.
I mean, I thought the bits we said during the keynote were pretty good, honestly.
I thought they were pretty good. Maybe
just-
repeat those in
yeah,
the moulding beverage.
To reiterate, we really like the concept of looking at what a transport looks like as a function within Warmachine, and that, as well as being a super heavy and is therefore a very hard hitting model that is very resilient by definition of being a super heavy, Old Scuttlebutt has the capacity to move other models in the Brine Blood army. So kind of like if they're stood near to Scuttlebutt, when Scuttlebutt moves, they'll be dragged along with. And then as part of that, Scuttlebutt can activate their animus, which allows those models to then move or charge through Scuttlebutt afterwards. It's effectively, the stands up really tall on his legs is the visual, and then allows the model to then charge through underneath afterwards. Yeah.
So some of it is like this for the other guys, and then this for Skull.
You got that. So, and then in addition, obviously, you can see there's some very large cannons on Scuttlebutt as well. So I imagine they do quite a bit of damage when they hit people.
Oh, yes.
It's got that big shell as well. Has he got carapace? Cannot confirm or deny.
I actually can't remember.
Cool. Hawk Johnson, incredible name. Oh no, Hawk Johansson, even better name. What can you tell us, if anything, about the Ember Frost Shard?
Thanks. So, and we hinted at some of that stuff with the Shadow Seraph floor as to what's going on there. I'm probably going to keep my powder dry on that one this stage. That's probably enough. We've already said some, already hinted at some things. We know that Saren is very concerned about what might be going on with Sirius as much as also Turok. So, yeah, I'm going to stay there with that.
Cool. Are new versions of current casters being considered, like Helith 2? Is that just
Not necessarily in the old sense, but I think it's always there's always a reference point whenever you looking to refresh or update a beloved caster. So certainly when we look at Thornfall and the new casters or the new sort of glow ups that we've done on existing things, that's a good indication of a direction of travel. But whether we go back to creating just full epic versions of existing characters or not is up for grabs a little bit.
Deadneck wants to know for the Fain, is hunger per model or is it an army-wide reason?
It's a central pull, make it easier to track.
Cool. Mike Shomick wants to know, starts off with a little bit of banter. The Steelheads are one of the oldest private armies with chapter houses all over the Warmachine nations. Will we see how they've moved with the times?
That's an open-ended question. What, from a lore point of view or from a game?
It doesn't specify both. Either.
Who was asking the question?
It was Mike Chomick.
Chomi. Oh, okay. I think when they do get to see the light of day again, then there will absolutely be an update to the narrative and how they fit in the world. And so yeah, they will be progressed from a narrative point of view. And then there will be an associated update and change to the way that they play. But I do need to stress they're not on the immediate future.
Cool. So Tyrants on the Field / Joe G, hopefully you recognize that. Can you confirm how many command card slots Grimkin and Gravediggers will have after the changes coming in the middle of the year?
Yeah, so with the new command card changes, so first up, this question's come quite a few times, is armies that have like army specific or faction specific command cards, you will retain those and they'll be unchanged. with the one exception of there's a military engineering card, I think it is in Gravediggers. We need to review that one because it has an interaction with Sapper, and Sapper is going away.
Yeah.
Cool. Outside of that, those cards will remain. In terms of the access to the number of cards, that will also remain the same. So I believe Grim can have 7 overall that they can take on the field at the moment. So they'll get a choice between all 12 cards. So they'll have the 7 Arcana that they have. They'll have the 5 new command cards, and they will be able to take any combination of 7 cards from that 12 card pool. And it'll basically be the same for Gravediggers. I think they have 8 as a cap right now. So they have the 2 light airdrops, the military engineering, the 2 heavy airdrops. They'll be able to take any combination of 8 cards from the end they have access to.
Cool. Zombie Igniter, excellent name. Would like to know any word on a 4th Dark Ops caster?
Well, this will put the vampire amongst the virgins, as it were. But one of the things that's got me quite excited. See how I linked it back to Fain there?
Excellent work. Excellent work.
Am I not allowed to say that?
Well, what you guys can't see is China going like this in the background.
What vampire? No, I think one of the things that's exciting me a lot at the moment is we are talking about revisiting all of the armies and looking at adding effectively a 30-point box for all of the armies. So Darker Operations will obviously be in that whole conversation as well.
That's awesome. That's real cool.
Yeah, that's a big one. Don't tell China.
Slayer Dragonwing, we saw a sneak peek of the Menoth Crusader at the keynote. Is it going to have the same loadouts as the original? New ones, a mix? Are we going to see any other returning chassis?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Iron Jack wants to know the My Mini Factory release for Black Fleet. They own the full army. Is this completely new Black Fleet?
Black Fleet has neither been confirmed nor denied at this stage, I believe.
Okay. Rinth would like to know, are we going to see any more army-specific command cards?
Almost certainly. I think it's a really cool design space. I think there's some interest. I apologize for using that phrase as well, by the way, but it's a useful phraseology. I think it just creates a lot of really interesting things that we can do. And one of the things that I talked about at the keynote and I've bored people senseless about is really making sure that every faction has a distinct feel and flavor, and the command cards and faction-specific command cards is a really great vehicle for that. So it's something that is very much on the docket and an active conversation.
Speaking of army flavor, Matt Manor has asked, it's been mentioned that some armies are nearly complete. What will make them complete, and when might that happen?
When they're all painted.
It's one we can all relate to. Okay, Matt DeForest wants to know, are you willing or able to confirm if there are plans for the Grimkin to get a character heavy at some point in the future?
Maybe.
You're teasing us. Okay. So John Likes Dice would like some more clarification about the 50-point box retail strategy. Says the keynote didn't make it clear enough for them. Are command starters going away? Battle group boxes. Will all previous retail boxes be reorganized?
So yeah, just to confirm, previous boxes won't be retrofitted. This is absolutely right now confirmed for Fain of Nero forwards. The easiest way to describe it, and there's a degree of nuance in here, so just forgive me for generalizing, but imagine a command set, 30 points. That's a great small footprint format to get into the faction. And then 3 or 4 50-point lists. That gives you the initial suite of leader models, plus a majority of the units and solos that you need. And then beyond that will obviously then be the specialists. So, an 80 mil caster or a 120 mil, like larger framed models.
Okay, so.
Oh, yeah. And sorry, someone's gesturing the international symbol of battle group. Which so instead of having at the moment the factions have a battle group box, which is a cohort focused caster or leader model and a heavy or light chassis. We're actually removing that leader model from that box and splitting that box in 2, so it's much easier to fine tune the light and heavy chassis that you want in your armies. Those boxes will obviously come with a full suite of loadout options, unlike the chassis that are in the the other army boxes.
So this is a request from 2PS down. When you do future Keynote streams, can you include the sound from the audience? All the exciting
yes, we will. It was. I watched it back, and it was a little bit weird. It looked like we were getting really excited in an empty room, which it wasn't. The energy was pretty cool.
I was there. The energy was incredible. I will say, however, as someone who sat through the Games Workshop Keynote, which did attempt to include sound from the audience, that was a worse experience.
Oh.
I'm sure Steamforged can't comment on who did a better stream, but I will say it was them. It was definitely them, and the wonderful Hellstorm Mikey doing tech.
Absolutely.
We've got Rinth wants to know, so Infernal, Sirius, and Grimkin character cohorts on the horizon? ?
I mean, if we were to do anything with Convergence of Sirius especially, they wouldn't have a character vector because that's completely in contradiction to all the existing lore. I can't say at all if Jamie and I had talked about FA1 versus FAC, whether what the mechanical difference of that in the game would be in any way, shape, or form related to that question.
Cool. Gamerholic would like to know, will the new Menoth have a shrine-like model on a 120mm base?
A shrine. It depends on your definition of shrine-like model, but they will almost certainly have a 120mm base that people are going to love.
Oh, well, that is alluring. There's a lot of people wanting to know. Might we see through Tribes some Legends models coming out at any point? So stuff that's not in Prime.
So no. So essentially, the legacy models, unless it's in the Prime section, that's our main focus. The way you'll potentially ever see those kind of things is where we reimagine those things, like we've done with some of the ones. Yeah, we won't be pulling models out specifically in Legend, just in legacy and re-release.
Samurai Fox, the most dangerous of all foxes, would like to know, are you considering a commercial tier for local game stores like us who do 3D printing?
Yeah, so this is something we talked about, a commercial license, and we're definitely looking into it. We know it's an interesting prospect for more modern stores that have 3D printers and stuff like that. But we need to make sure we balance that and make a model that works for everyone. So it's definitely being looked into at the moment.
Cool. Tyrants on the Field just wants to ask, how excited are you that one of the finalists at today's Iron Gauntlet is rocking Necrofactorium and the other is rocking Brian Blood Marauders? So that's two new armies?
I mean, I'm really happy with that. But there's a bit of sweetness to it because Jamie and I have an ongoing conversation about how many buffs I want to get into Necrofactorium. And the fact that they're finalists is kind of undermining a little bit of my position. But no, it's brilliant. And I think one of the things that we can take away from AdeptiCon, and we've all been kind of going around and observing, is the spread of armies, is the variety that we're seeing in army compositions, and hearing people talking about the challenges now of list building from not just what the meta is and what they think a good pairing is and what they need to kind of counter specific strengths in that exist in the meta that they might come across, but also accommodating the way the scenarios are built and the fact that the scenarios have a variety of different challenges that you need to build lists to accommodate for, has revealed quite a wide spread of all the factions in terms of play rate. Obviously, there will be those that are more popular at the moment. But I think one of the things that we are very comfortable with is the meta is fluid, and it's deliberately fluid. And right now, people are discovering what is working and what isn't working, and then people are going to respond to that in time. So we're going to see a lovely, really interesting kind of curve as the meta swirls and changes throughout the year.
Cool.
And also something that I've had lots of people tell me at the narrative tables as well is how they're really enjoying the fact that the factions enable them to build really thematic lists for Tales from the Frontlines armies as well. So they're not just thinking in terms of steamroller and competitive play. It's also casual play as well. There's lots of people building really interesting kind of fast attack forces which are very thematic, but focused rather than just purely looking at rules as well, which is really cool.
That's awesome. In last year's Keynote AMA, you said that there were plans for Blind Water, but nothing next year. So does that mean we can hope for Gators in 27? And will that be a returning army or a new one?
Hope springs eternal.
Okay. So as a fan of Lizardy Boys, I am keen as well.
And yes, Rascal will almost certainly be on in the conversation.
Excellent, excellent. Randall Z says, is there room for a Steelheads army in tribes? And they're suggesting, I like this suggestion, Magnus 4 as a normal warcaster and a Victus available as a character cohort model.
Yeah, I really like that. I think what Tribes does is it gives us an amazing vehicle for us to visit or release armies. So Steelheads absolutely could fit into that pattern, but similarly, I could very easily see Steelheads being a great retail physical release as well. I think their play style could be one of those that I haven't come up with a really clever phraseology yet, but I think that because the gameplay for them could be quite streamlined or simplified or easy to interpret, it could be a brilliant faction for people looking to get into the game. So a physical release might make a lot of sense as well. But as you can tell, we're undecided where and how we're going to deploy them. But the good thing is we have a number of different channels that we can use, and we're going to put the armies into the right channels that we think make the most sense.
Cool. Overred says PP did an Art of Privateer Press Kickstarter book a while back. Any chance we might see something similar with classic and new art from Warmachine?
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know if we'll deploy it via crowdfunding, but I think, I'm desperately in love with the idea of a coffee table style art book. There's some brilliant art that I'm kind of discovering on the server as we're looking through that I haven't seen before, and obviously we're getting a whole bunch of great new art done. So yeah, I think that's very much something we would want to do at some point in time. But for now, our heads are down and focusing on ensuring that the core experience is exactly where we want it to be, and then we can then look at all these ancillary things that are super exciting, but they're tempting us off the path. Like a vampire whispering through the window.
You know what? I'm gonna skip forward to a question from Colbazar, because you're so keen on the vampires. Can we get confirmation that there will be a vampire Dommy Mommy Warcaster or Warlock? A Lady Dimitrescu type.
I don't want to answer that question.
Are you scared? Are you scared, Matt?
She makes me scared. No, I don't know. I'm pulling your leg.
Oh, Rinth wants to know Menoth or Nero in hips, or is it still 3D printed?
So they're both going to be 3D printed.
Cool. Okay. Oh, interesting. Inside Mark IV, are we going to get the third army for any factions?
It's too early for me to work that out. Maybe, I don't know, but three is a magic number, as the song goes.
Okay.
But I think a more interesting nuance to add to that is within the framework of Mark IV. It kind of implies that there will be a Mark V, and what is the time frame on that? At the moment, we are really happy with where the game is right now. So the mark that we're in, some people call it 4.5, some people call it 4. That's a bit Trump-like, wasn't it? Wasn't it? Yeah, some people might say this, and other people might say that. Yeah, I'm in the weed now. No, so I think the timeline for or the shelf life for Mark IV is actually really, really long. So it's highly likely that within that version of the game, we will see the third faction for each, or third army for each faction.
Rick Recht would like to know any info on Bandit's weapons.
He's got 4 guns. Well, 4 barrels, 1 gun.
1 gun, 4 barrels.
4 barrels, 1 gun.
Yeah. And a hammer that's so big it needs to be airdropped in separately. If you look at the artwork, it's literally got parachute clips.
Nice.
Does
he parachute it onto people's heads?
Hey, why not? That sounds fun. I like that you can throw it up in the air and it just comes down somewhere.
Just coming down slowly and he's just shooting you into position.
Yeah.
Slayer Dragonwing, any hints on what the Cephalix Mind Thief does on the tabletop? I assume steal mines, but...
It's actually quite friendly. Goes around giving flowers to people.
Great guy. Always buys the first round when he goes into a pub.
Shadow
Mine Stealer.
We did have a song.
There you go. I'm warming up now. My coffee's kicked in.
We've got a couple of people. So this is how far, like, there is half an hour of questions that have been asked, and we are half an hour behind on questions compared to what we've managed to put to the team, which is incredible. Like, the engagement has been so wonderful.
Nice.
Slayer and Dragonwing, like, you remember how far back this was asked. It's like, wow, I love the 2d6 system and excited to go back for it. And Jedi Sword 751 says it's great to hear about the RPG. So, like,
awesome.
Randall Z wants to know, is there another 2-player box in the works?
We are, 2-player box. We are very much aware that there's a pattern recognition of 2-player starter sets and 2-player box sets, and I think they have a wonderful part to play. However, it's a struggle. I mean, what if you don't like those 2 factions that are in that box, but you still want to get into the game? So for me, I think the challenge is very much, how do you make it easy for people to get into the game in a logical way that is easy to understand or interpret yourself? I.e., I don't want you to have to rely on us telling you which products to buy or your local store telling you what products to buy. It should be obvious when you go into the store and you do a little bit of nosing about, oh, this is a really good thing, and I can add one of these and one of these, and now I've got a starter experience. That's much more interesting to me, and I think has a lot more legs overall than confining that starter experience to just two factions.
Yeah, of course, yeah. I may add to that as well. So part of the we haven't really talked much about this. Part of the 50-point army boxes that were coming up for Fain and Menoth, etc., is intended so that you've got multiple different jumping off points into an army. So if you have a 50-point army box, we're developing those so that they are playable out of box as the force that comes in the set. So if you have a 50-point army box and someone else has a 50-point army box, they should be playable against each other in your starter games. So you don't. The command starter is a great place to start, and it's probably still a recommended place. But if you like the look of a different box, play with that. It'll be a great place to start your army.
Yeah, it's just for real clarity though, it's worth emphasising that when we say 50 points, it's a slight colloquialism. There's a range of 48 to 52-ish points in a box, and it's still close enough to feel like a balanced experience when you're playing into that point size. But we don't want to shackle ourselves to having to be pinpoint 50 points each time, because it'll make January updates an absolute nightmare.
And
we don't want to do that.
Or hints about bringing back the IK board games?
Absolutely. However, that is definitely a temptation off the main path right now. So that's almost certainly something we won't do for at least 12, 18 months, if not longer.
Cool. Well, we have QC Leto the second here, so yeah, exactly. Not sure if it was already asked. Will the new Constance Blaze count as friendly faction model in Storm Legion or Gravedigger?
Interesting. That's a great question.
Maybe.
I mean, she probably will in Dark Ops and Form 4 at this point.
I think that the less flippant answer is it's still been play tested. It's definitely something that needs to kind of go through the full play test system, and we're mid-cycle at the moment, so that's really hard to confirm or deny at this stage. But it would make a lot of sense if we could make it happen. That would be cool. But that way lies danger. So we want to make sure we know what we're jumping into before we do it.
Deadneck wants to know when we might see new Fain stuff in the app.
Depends if we accidentally press the release all button.
Cool.
But like the hype train is powering up in the station, and we're going to be jumping aboard that. So there's going to be a lot of conversations about Fain over the coming months. So yeah.
I'm getting a VAR check on that one, I think.
Okay.
Maybe other day.
Numby says that new armies seem to have a core mechanic or idea, something distinct. What would you describe as the core idea for the Covenant of Flame? I feel like the answer is in the name there, honestly, but fire. But like,
I think if you read the lore and you look at the lore of the gifts that Menoth gave to his people, and that's a really good starting point for your imaginations to run wild.
Cool. Dragon Pup says, for the This is a request for the Fortress King. Can I ask that it uses bigger magnet holes? Friends with Gorges say the small magnets don't hold strong enough.
Oh yeah. I mean, the other way to do it is get those magnetic discs that are designed to go inside the round lip bases, and just pepper kind of 30 mils inside the. Oh, it's in the joints, is it? Oh, okay. Oh, I don't know. I just super glue mine.
So I think we're always looking in the engineering past to try and make sure that everything does hold and stuff from the magnets. As we've done some of these bigger models, like we recognise that some of them can be a little weaker, but we are now trying to improve the QC and the testing of that. So hopefully, with the Fortress King, won't be an issue. So we don't want to try and introduce too many different size magnets because it makes it more difficult to track what you're doing. So ideally, it's more of the composition of the model we'll look at first.
Okay, so we've got like 2 minutes left before the hall opens and a whole bunch of exhibitors come in and start. In fact, they're coming in now, starting to fill up their desks. So unfortunately, there's a load of great questions that we weren't able to get to.
Well, if you don't mind me piggybacking on this wonderful audience, we do a live stream as well most Thursdays. So keep your eyes out on the Warmachine socials. We'll announce a stream where we just hang out and we're all painting, chatting, answering questions. So if you have unanswered questions, then that's probably the next best vehicle to kind of get involved. Sorry for stealing your
No,
audience.
Absolutely. So to repeat that, that's the Warmachine live stream on Thursday. What platforms is that on?
YouTube.
That's on YouTube. If you've joined the Wargamer Discord specifically for this AMA with Steamforged, we would love for you to hang around. We'd love to see all your minis in our mini painting chat, in our Share Your Army showcase channel. Just hang out in the War Games channel as well. I am a Warmachine friggin' fanatic. Delighted to be here. Thank you all so much for joining. And thank you so much to Team Steamforged. You have been absolutely incredible. I am personally incredibly excited for everything that's coming. And yeah, I'm just going to probably ram raid your booth before the show goes home and see what I can make off with in my suitcase.
Ram Raider. It just works on so many different things.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you, and have a lovely day, everyone, wherever you are in the world.
Bye, guys.
Catch you all, folks.